I always think quite deeply about legacy impact, and to know that somewhere in the world there will be a literal forest within a year that represents the members that are in a community. That's amazing. One day we could go and visit your tree, Julia. So like that really excites me. I would love to run a tutoring company, but I don't have the capacity or the knowledge or the specialism or the experience to do so. So now I get to have you in the community and champion you and cheerlead you and help hopefully guide you in some way. The fact that someone sat there on their sofa with potentially the greatest idea known to man, but has no idea where to start, scares me on behalf of the species, because we should be enabling that. It doesn't come without its challenges. There is a point where, you don't know everybody off by heart now or what they do. That's kind of scary and interesting. Like, who are these people that have joined and are paying money?
We're determined to find ways to make money that also bring meaning into our life.
There's so many places you can find out how to do management accounts. But as you know, just as well as I do, in school and college and university, there is nigh on nothing about soft skills and development. And so what I'd love to do is to help the non-sales people sell and the non-technical people be technical, so that they can build better businesses by default and then add the rest of the stuff on top.
Welcome to the Qualified Tutor Podcast. I'm your host, Ludo Miller, and I'll be interviewing tutors and thought leaders from across the tutoring landscape to inspire, inform, and motivate you to become the best tutor you can be. The Qualified Tutor community is a safe and supportive space for tutors who love to learn and grow. We offer training, resources, ideas, and a chance to connect with like-minded tutors. If you'd like to continue the conversation, join our Qualified Tutor community at www.qualifiedtutorcommunity.org or find it in the show notes.
Welcome, Ash, to the Qualified Tutor Podcast. Ash Phillips has been introduced to me as a genius entrepreneur. And he's sitting in his purple lit bedroom. Yeah. What he's doing is he's connecting entrepreneurs. So your company has just been rebranded as different with no vowels. And until now, I know it's the English teacher in me, and until now, you were called Yenna?
Yes, we were.
Okay,
yeah.
So we're going to ask you about the vision, about the impact that you're trying to achieve, about the journey that you've been on in starting your business, because one of the things that we like to do in Qualified Tutor is we like to hand over the mic to experts when we're not speaking about teaching and learning, because we each have our own expertise that we bring to the table. But what's interesting about tutors is that although our skill set is teaching and learning, we are often running small businesses as well, because we're each serving either our own students and their parents, or we're actually running our own small agencies where we're being the connectors between parents and tutors, students and tutors. And so what we like to do is talk about how to build ourselves up, to differentiate ourselves, to make a difference, to ensure that we are serving our people as well as possible. And that's really where you come in, because what you've been working on at the moment is coaching small business owners. And that's really, really generous at a time when we're all floundering and scratching our heads to know what we should be doing next and differently. And yet, I think many of us are feeling that there's a real opportunity happening right now. Certainly in the world of tutoring, there's a groundswell towards seeing that tutors make a big difference. That school isn't the only way. And so if you can sort of bolster our understanding about how to build ourselves as small business owners, then we'll have added a lot of value to our listeners. Last week we had Mike Michalowicz on the podcast, who is the entrepreneur's coach, and his books are the toilet paper entrepreneur.
Nice.
And others are a fantastic listen. But you offer something different, Ash. You offer community.
Yeah.
As you know, we're obsessed by community around here. because peer support is really where the magic happens. When you're working in context and you're collaborating with people, you just get so much more done, and it's so much more pleasant. So we are going to do all of those things and talk about all of those things in this podcast. But first, we're going to talk to you about who you are and where you're coming from. And our question is always, Ash, tell us about yourself as a learner.
About me as a learner, I am not. So first of all, I'm gonna bounce around on these answers, and that probably represents the type of learner that I am, which is very eclectic. I'm not academic. It took me too long to realize that. I dropped out of university because of that. I was always the kid in school that, and this is ironic, come to think of it now, but I was always the kid in school that literally every year during primary school, when we got school report cards, it would say, Ash would do very well if he just stopped talking to others. And it's quite funny because that's literally what I do for a living now. We're doing it right now. And yeah, it's kind of penalized as a form of learning. I'm very bullish on the whole analogy of teaching a fish to climb a tree, or judging a fish by its ability to climb a tree, etc., and how that represents, not being clever. It's crazy to me that we're not aware of different learning styles. So for me, yeah, I'm not academic. I'm more of a learn by doing. I love the practical lessons in school. I liked PE. I liked blowing things up in science. I liked school trips for history, and they helped me learn because very tactile, and yeah, very action oriented. I could, in maths, even in the more theory based lessons in maths, I could get to the answer, but I could never show my workings out, and I got penalized for that too. And I was kind of bitter about that because I thought, is it not better that I knew the answer without having to work it out? And I understand why they want to see the workings out, just to know that I've managed to get there. But that was a struggle for me. So I was kind of a straight B student, like an A every now and again, C's and D's every now and again, but just kind of middle of the road guy, which, humbly, no bragging here, I winged it completely, but ended up getting asked to do a TEDx talk. And that ended up being about the fact that I'm okay at a lot of things. I'm not amazing at any one thing, and I'm not really rubbish at many things either. That sounds like a humble brag, but I'm just kind of average. And that represents my learning style, I think.
That's so interesting because you used the phrase penalized twice, didn't you?
Yeah.
And so this sort of dynamic where you're never being celebrated for what you're being good at, and you're always, being missing out for what you're not thriving at or not natural at. It's such a shame. And frankly, and I haven't listened to your TED talk because I didn't know it was out there. Tell us what it's called so we can find it.
Honestly, I can't even remember what it's called, but if you just Google Ash Phillips TEDx UE, UWE, it was at the University of West of England's TEDx event. So it should come up there, and you can add to the probably 4 views it currently has. It's not a famous one. And yeah, but there's a couple of fun little tidbits in there. So that was fun.
I think that's very, very cool. I think it's also interesting to wonder what's wrong with being quite good at lots of things when we need to do lots of things all day and we don't get to just solve algebraic equations. We need to be well-rounded and we need to be adaptable. And so let's talk about how you decided. How did you find your way then, let's say?
I mean, the default answer to this is I still haven't. And I don't think I ever will. That's, a moral of that talk that I gave is that it's okay not to know, and it's okay to never know. And I think the important thing that we miss getting taught, and this is just an opinion, I don't know, there's no data to back this up, but I think one of the important things that we miss getting taught, primarily from a mental health point of view, is that we're all making it up as we go along. No one's an expert, and even if they come across as an expert, it's probably just because they're a little bit more confident or possibly quite delusional about the fact that they might be an expert, and of course have experience and time in said field, but are just slightly further along. And that's it's okay to not be that person. And so, yeah, for me, I'm always wanting to change. It's in my nature. I haven't been diagnosed, but I'm fairly certain I've got ADHD of some kind of capacity, and that kind of factors in too. But Yeah, for me, I was always jealous of this guy that I went to school with. His name's Callum. Probably won't listen to this, but if he is, hey. And he from day one of reception. So we grew up together, and I think reception, like year one, when we're yay high to a grasshopper, he kind of knew he wanted to be a doctor. And that's what he always knew he wanted to do. And we went through school and college, and I remember him getting 120 out of 120 on a sports science class that we shared at college. And it was just because he knew he wanted to be a GP, and that was his laser vision. He could drive towards that. I was wandering around a little bit lost, wondering what to do, and I'm still like that. And so the reason I've ended up doing what I'm doing at Different, in supporting creators to build the things that they want to build in the world, is because secretly, not so secretly really, I get to live vicariously through everybody else's ventures. I would love to run a tutoring company, but I don't have the capacity or the knowledge or the specialism or the experience to do so. So now I get to have you in the community and champion you and cheerlead you and help hopefully guide you in some way towards building something greater and feel, at least feel like I'm part of that. So yeah, the big secret is that Different is hopefully a company that provides great value, but is actually just my way of getting involved in lots of pies.
That's gorgeously humble, and really what you're expressing is curiosity, right?
Always, never ending.
Yeah, and a passion for finding out what other people are doing and see if you can help them. So what is the value that you're adding with Different?
So you mentioned the word coaching. I'm not bullish on that term, mainly because lots of people obviously turn that word into a minefield. There's lots of cowboys out there, as I know you're certainly aware, and lots of other people are. What Different is essentially is a startup ecosystem, which is quite jargony. But for those people who are sat there wondering what that even means, if you have an idea of something that you want to build, you can go out there and just build it. But there's so many things that you don't know that you don't know.
We've spoken about this. It's bonkers.
It's crazy. It's, as I say, I'm not a father and I've not climbed Everest, but building a business is one of the most challenging things you'll ever do, because it's one of the biggest learning curves you'll ever have, because there are so many facets to it. One day you're an accountant, the next day you're a salesperson, next day you're a digital marketer, and then one day you have to do all three. And that's just insane to me. So the fact that someone sat there on their sofa with potentially the greatest idea known to man, but has no idea where to start, scares me on behalf of the species, because we should be enabling that. Yeah. The fact that support and at a high level is either exclusive to certain people in certain networks or certain geographies, or both, and or very expensive in terms of paying cash or equity for accessing that, is incredibly inaccessible, and that's not fair to the majority, not the minority. And so Different represents the opportunity to democratize high-level business support and entrepreneurship. But brass tacks, what we actually provide a digital community of awesome people creating cool things on a global capacity. So all people in all different kind of veins in different parts of the world. Deals and offers on tools and resources that you might use in your business, save you money along the way, which is one of the things that ends up being quite expensive if you don't realize it. Original content to educate and entertain people on things they need to know about, how to do HR, how to raise money, etc. And provide ongoing opportunities for those people too. I think most recently we had free tickets to a conference that was something like £300 a ticket. Great value for our members. And all of that is 12 quid a month, and people can just cancel whenever they want. So, I'm just sat here going, I'm literally just here to help. Let me try and do that. And if I ever stop being helpful, that's cool. You can head out. And that's my guarantee really to myself, is I've got to deliver value to you. Otherwise, I don't build a business. So you can guarantee I'm gonna. And that's essentially what Different does. So, if people want to breakdown of all the features is on the pricing page, but it's about giving people a unfair step up in building the thing they want to build.
I think that's gorgeous. I really, really do. And we're going to talk about the power of community in just a second. But I want to unpack what you're saying about squandering talent. You're saying it's a terrible thing for the species for people to be sat on their sofas not knowing how to unlock their own potential and build their own ideas. So we talk about that in school a lot, because we talk about the fact that if our education system doesn't bring the best out of our students, then the next generation doesn't get to be as brilliant as it's supposed to be, and we don't get to learn and benefit from them as much as we would like to. So what you're really saying there is, let me help you unlock your potential and make that amazing thing that you've got up your sleeve. So we've been building Qualified Tutor for 18 months now, and it's been such a joy to see it grow. But I am always out of my comfort zone, because we're always doing something that we've never done before. And every Tuesday I think, blimey, I did not know that. And every Friday I think, I cannot believe how far we've come this week. The Qualified Tutor community has nearly 600 tutors in it now. And exactly like you're describing, it's an ecosystem. And it's all about enabling people to do what they want to do as well as they want to do it. So let's talk about community. So you talk about an ecosystem, Ash. And I think what's special about ecosystem is all the different relationships, all the different interactions, and the symbiosis. So it's not just a one-way street, is it? And you and I, last time we chatted, we spoke about the fact that sometimes we discover people chatting on our communities in the middle of the night, and we feel like we're just sort of like paying rent and everybody else is having a party, and it's a joy, right? It's a real joy. So let's talk about why your model is community-based.
I think the model is community-based. If I'm really honest, accidentally. There's a reason for it now. I've grown into, but yeah, we started as an event organization 7-ish years ago. Ran a meetup in a bar. 5 people turned up. They really enjoyed it. Asked when the next one was, and I just said maybe next month. And long story short, we've run them ever since. Pre-COVID, those had grown. People came from all over the place, and this is, I guess, one of the hints as to why we've moved into community. I guess now. People came from all over the place, wanted to run them in their cities. And I said, okay, again, making it up as I go along. And pre-COVID, we were running 100 events a year, 21 cities, 9 countries, about 4,500 people a year signing up for free to come along to those as a safe space to connect with other people. What I found somewhere along the way was that the power was in connecting those people. And just as you and I have riffed on about, finding people working together and having a chat with each other, is that they tend to end up working together, and sometimes in a way that I didn't realize. Like they catch me off guard sometimes, and they know each other better than I know any of them, and I'm like, wait, but you're members of mine. How is this happening? So you just have to be okay with those things. And I think the reason we're a community now is for 2 reasons. One, from an operational point of view, it's and I'm super transparent about this, it's more helpful if people manage each other in the community, because there's only one of me and I can only manage so many people, as you're aware, with so many people in your community, which is incredible. There's only so much that you can do. And so it's great if Joe blogs chats to Jill blogs and they have a conversation and hit it off, because they'll attribute that value to your community. Secondary benefit is if they do attribute that value to your community in the work you're doing, they'll tell other people and they'll bring more people, which brings what people will now know as a network effect, makes the community better. The more people, the better it is, etc. Doesn't come without its challenges. I know you know that, but for everybody else, there are other challenges that come along the way with scaling that. And I guess, the more the merrier. It's probably the easiest way to put it. Like,
I'm a big more the merrier person. I really am.
It's awesome having those people in there. As I say, it doesn't come without its challenges. There is a point where, you don't know everybody off by heart now or what they do. That's kind of scary and interesting. Like, who are these people that have joined and are paying money?
That it's self-selecting, isn't it? So you know that they're all the
absolutely
right types. It's just that you have to make sure that they're all sort of supporting each other, because you can't reach them all.
100%.
So last time we chatted, you said something that I think is worth sharing here. You said that your special skill is introductions.
Yeah.
Okay, so anybody who's running a small tutoring agency, their special skill needs to be introductions. They need to be able to match up tutors and students in a way that's going to be best for both of them. So do you want to talk about where that sort of special ninja skill that you've got comes from, and how to maybe unpack it for listeners?
Yeah. It's an interesting one. It's almost like an active therapy session. I don't know where the skill comes from. I definitely wouldn't call it a talent, because I don't think anyone's just born being able to introduce people. That's weird. That would be a really lame superpower to have. I prefer being able to fly. But so it must be a skill. And I've been thinking about this a lot over the last 18 months for reasons that will probably become apparent either later on, or at least in the roadmap of the business. But the way that I feel like I've built a muscle, I for a long time I took it for granted completely. People would say, "Oh, you're really good at introductions." I would say, "Oh, thanks," and carry on. And then I realized, well, if people are saying I'm good at introductions, there must be such a thing as bad introductions. Therefore, I'm quite a logical kind of science geek, really. So I'm like, well, what makes mine good and what makes others bad? And what kind of algorithm am I doing in my head when I go, you should meet that person and that person should meet you? Why does that match up? And I think there's a whole bunch of aspects that I now, because of habit, just instantly run through my head. As soon as I meet you, I go, oh, that person, that person, that person, you should meet, you'll get on, here's why. And those factors are everything from location, sector, experience, interest, opportunity, challenges, personality traits, all of these things, level of competition versus collaboration, all of those things come together and make me go, 1+1 = 2, or does not compute, wouldn't introduce. And I think the most important piece of this that's worth kind of telling everybody about that's doing introductions is it doesn't have to be, but ideally it's of value to both people. That builds that social currency with them. If everybody in that equation gets value, you'll have a knock-on effect of building social currency with them. They'll see you as a greater person for it, and thank you for it. The moment it becomes unreciprocable, if that's the right word, is the moment it becomes free advice or just asking for some help, and that's absolutely fine as long as that's stated as the case. So it's just about making sure there's that balance there and transparency.
Although you and I were both introduced by Mark Huxley, weren't
yes.
we? And he's just a bonkers generous person who I know, right? Who I've met through the company of entrepreneurs. And he has just stepped into the giving role because he's at that stage of his career that he wants to give back. So I think that there's also a place for giving as a type of receiving, and that's part of that relationship and part of that reciprocity. I think it's worth pointing out that the more that we behave with generosity, the more generosity comes back to us. So a business that's built on generosity is really a business that you want to be part of. Do you know what I mean?
Definitely. I don't see the reason why, and I know it's probably quite difficult, has been probably difficult for Mark to do this through his career in insurance, where it's obviously very commercial. But I don't see why someone, and Mark isn't an example of this because he's just been a great guy all his life, I'm certain, but where people just aggressively do something just to make money and then eventually give it back. We're in a generation now where it's like the give back is a constant, it's a default, it's purpose and profit aren't exclusive of one another. They are very inherent. And that's why you build the company you're building, why I build the company I'm building, because it's about, I guess my personal motto is do good, be good, or be good, do good. And it's about making sure you're just a good person, unconditionally helping people, and hopefully become successful along the way. Time will tell whether I was right or wrong, but at least I can sleep at night, I guess is the moral of that story.
It's a lovely positioning. I think it's the thing that I'm noticing is that we're no longer happy to do without meaning. And we're determined to find ways to make money that also bring meaning into our life. So the key question that we ask in the community is, what's your why as a tutor? And the reason why we ask that is because if you sort of key yourself into your own motivations, then you just come across a lot clearer with a lot more alignment to the people that you're working with. But so often the answers are growth, the joy of passing on the love for my subject, the joy of enabling people, of allowing people to bring out their own potential. So by keying into your own motivation to be a giver, to do good, you actually enable yourself to be good, because the two things are therefore going in a virtuous cycle. So I think that's exactly where we've come from. I'm going to wrap up now, Ash, because I think it's been a really, really great session. And I want to share with you that you've actually lived up to our 3 house rules in Qualified Tutor.
Right.
Those are: be curious, be generous, and be reflective. And I think this session has been expressing a joy for curiosity, expressing a positioning of generosity, and throughout you've been reflective. You mentioned ADHD. So 2 podcasts ago, we had Cleo O'Sullivan Tucker, who was talking about her ADHD and her diagnosis as an adult after she failed her A-levels, and how that journey was actually unlocking her own confidence. And thinking back to your own journey as a student and that lie of school. Ian Gilbert, our friend Ian Gilbert, talks about the lie of school. If you do well in school, then you'll have a good life. If you don't do well in school, then you won't have a good, well, it's nonsense, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's nonsense, because
Total nonsense.
It's all about this lifelong learning mode. And if we can be curious and be generous and be reflective, then we can make a difference for a long time for lots of people and grow a forest to be proud.
Yes, quite literally and
quite literally a forest. So let's leave ourselves with a conversation about legacy for another time. And are you able to offer a...
We are, yeah. So let me, firstly, really appreciate you having me on. And for anyone in our community and network that's listening, I would definitely recommend checking out what you're doing, because, you know, I guess tutoring is a very specific job role, but actually also a vocation for some people who like to teach in different forms. So definitely worth having a look. And for anybody that is a tutor and wants to develop themselves a little bit more and be around creators of all kinds, then definitely check out the different community. I will happily provide a code to get 2 months, let's say, for free. The code is free2, number 2, MO, if they want to check it out. And any problems with signing up, because I know we had some teething problems, that was totally my fault. Just send me a little message and I'll happily help out, because different is me. I'm different at the moment, and hopefully we can help everybody else be a little bit different too.
Fantastic. All those details will be in the show notes, because we want to make it as easy as possible for you to benefit from Ash's community. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
I look forward to making some interesting synergies happen on your community.
Perfect. Some great connections, I'm sure.
Thanks for your time, and
Thank
wish you all the best. Cheers, Ash.
Cheers, Julia.
See you.
Thanks for listening to the Qualified Tutor podcast, where tutors share their expertise to support the tutoring community. If you'd like to continue the conversation, join our Qualified Tutor community at www.qualifiedtutorcommunity.org, or find it in the show notes below. We exist to connect, share, and learn with you, because tutoring is a small job that makes a big difference.